All right, let's get rolling. Where are we at? Chapter 5, BB Gunn. What do we got to do? Read it aloud, cut out the nonsense, shorten the novel, make it more tolerable. Let's get going. What happened last time? They fought a monster. Alright. Chapter 5. Copper Valley 20. Oh, okay. I went to chapter 4. Alright. Chapter 5. I knew I was dreaming right away. Not that it made me feel any less. Not that it made it feel any less threatening. Still, in the jungle, I stood from my resting point with no pain. I was alone, and my surroundings seemed foggy, like my mind wasn't giving me the full picture. In the trees around me, the sounds of life had gone quiet, but something was drawing my attention. Always Zoot, defeated by children, a metallic voice said, "So be it." Always Zoot? What kind of name is that? I asked in return, looking for the source of the voice. But I knew it was the voice of Tailhand. You learned English? It will never learn anything again. I've been ended. So how are you talking to me? You have called on me. I cannot call on you. I walked closer to the tree line. So why were you trying to kill us? I was created for a purpose, it whispered, and that is all I know. What purpose? Awizu softly laughed. The noise moved further away from me. The others will complete the purpose without me. I wanted to chase it into the woods and make it give me answers. I hate to admit it, I was scared. So I yelled, "What others?" Its laughter grew from a soft chuckle into the maniac laughter from our battle, but it still moved away from me. Then a different, deep, demonic laughter came from the forest somewhere on my left, and then another from my right, and then dozens and dozens more. Each was unique, and each was terrifying. "Fuzzy pickles," I muttered, and cautiously backed off from the woods. The laughter swelled louder, and I covered my ears. But I still heard it in my thoughts, and it was deafening to my mind. Come on. What is this music? I'd rather put on nothing than whatever this is. Ugh. I think this is much better. Alright. Where are we at? Let's get into the jungle. This one. But I still heard it in my thoughts, and it was deafening to my mind. The trees trembled with unrelenting noise. Branches swayed without rhythm. My feet got wet as I stepped into the pond, and I stumbled, soaking myself to my chest. The noise reached a crescendo, and suddenly went still. Delete. A rumble like falling boulders sounded faintly in the distance, like an earthquake miles away. Then I realized it wasn't any sort of seismic activity, but the roar of a creature so powerful that its mere voice sounded like an act of God. Something grabbed my arm. I jumped, but my back sent a signal of pain so sharp I could hear it. I was still laying in my bed of leaves, and Caleb was standing over me with his finger to his mouth, signaling for me to keep silent. The sun gave only the smallest amount of light, as it was the beginning of dawn. The air was cooler and damper than it had been the night before. The surrounding trees still sounded very alive, but the noises were different than they were at nighttime. Otherwise, everything seemed normal. But Caleb was searching the trees for something. Standing next to Caleb, I'm going to delete some of this. Remember, we're trying to shorten it. So, okay. Standing next to Caleb, Hazel pointed. Look. Through the vines and the trees, there was some movement. A couple of shadowy figures moved through the woods. I can put this together. Through the vines and trees, a couple of shadow figures moved. There. That's the kind of succinct shortening that we need. As if rehearsed, a dozen people emerged from the clearing next to the pond. It was a group of men with a mix of ages, from teenagers to middle-aged. Each had long dark hair and had long wooden paddles. Each had long dark hair. Let's just make it long hair and a wooden paddle that looked like a cricket bat, except they weren't exactly symmetrical. Strangely, they wore nothing but loincloths. They all stopped on the edge of the clearing and started talking to each other in what sounded like the same language as we heard from the creature last night. Their demeanor was more cautious than threatening, but on closer inspection of their paddles, the edges were covered with sharpened stones that were almost translucent. Even if they weren't swinging them at us, they looked dangerous. Hello? Caleb said. They started talking to each other again until the oldest one began to speak. His voice again his voice They started talking to each other until the oldest one began to speak. All the others went silent. He looked between the three of us. Okay. He looked between the three of us. Wait, does this one have my voice? Yeah. He looked between the three of us. It was frustrating that again we couldn't. Looked between the three of us, and as he talked, he pointed at the pond. Finally, I heard a word I recognized. Awizut. Awizut? I said, looking up to the man from the ground. The man Merburn, and the oldest one of them walked forward from the group. One of the others tried to stop him, but he said, Men. The one talking walked forward from the group. One of the others. Okay, the men murmured, and the one talking walked forward from the group. One of the others tried to stop him, but he said something to all of them and continued towards us. Caleb stood in front of me, ready to defend, but I grabbed him on the leg. When he looked down at me, I said, "Let him come." That word, I heard it in a dream last night. Caleb stood aside, and the men kneeled beside me. I could see that he was probably around the same age as Uncle Paul, but this man was hardened. Had more scars than I could count, including across his mouth. He spoke a couple sentences directly at me, and I could see that he was missing a few teeth on the side with the scar and had strange replacements. Again, he said, "Awizut," mixed in with other words. "Awizut," I said, and ran my finger across my throat in what I hoped would be universally understandable. Okay. "Awizut," I said, and ran my finger across my throat in a gesture I hoped he would understand. His eyes widened, but his face kept an iron resolve. He turned to the others and repeated my throat-slitting gesture. The group huddled, discussing intently. I noticed that they were equipped with more than a club. Some carried spears, more than the club. Some carried spears, shields, and other things that I couldn't identify. This was some sort of war party that came. War party that came to this pond. They were coming. Come on. No. No. Oh my gosh. always get into this. Start. Eventually, we found our way. Okay. The young ones, a few boys and girls were about. One mother with two young ones stopped washing her pottery in a stream and stood up to watch us pass by. The young ones ran up to us and walked up by my side as the warriors marched on. The leader spoke, and people gathered their things and followed us. In less than a minute, I was encircled by a gaggle of toddlers and children. Some pointed and laughed, and one grabbed my shirt, seemingly fixated on my clothes. A few of the other kids did the exact same thing. Apparently, we're no need to say that. They pulled me into an open field. I could hear running water somewhere behind me, over the murmur of the growing crowd around us. Holy cow! There's got to be 100 people here, Caleb said, and not a single shirt in sight, if you know what I mean, BB. Grow up, Caleb, I said, but my head involuntarily whipped around, causing me to hiss in pain. Serves me right, I said, and settled back into my carriage. Guess I've become a man before you, but are you really surprised, big bro? He looked around with exaggerated interest and then back up to me, smiling widely. Finally, I caught a glimpse of some of the women in town, and they all wore colorful blouses. I closed my eyes and said, I hate you. You two are gross, Hazel interjected. Maybe we should be making a plan? The plan is to hope they don't eat us, Caleb said, and suddenly we're snatched out of the small village and catapulted through the verge. This time, we found ourselves back in the sanctuary room with the round table and wooden thrones. I was laying on the floor next to my chair, and Caleb and Hazel were right next to me. Whoa, Caleb said and looked down to me. Okay, good. I was hoping I could open this so we'd have some time to get our story straight about how I was hurt. Before I was done speaking, the sentence, golden light streamed out of all of us and formed into 3 separate grapefruit-sized balls. A little blue light also floated through the air, but it only came from Caleb. The energy darted to the crystal room. The powerful voice, then the powerful voice emanated from it. You have found a piece of me, and you were only children. Didn't you know that already, Sherlock? Caleb said. I mean, you talked to us before. This is the first time we have communicated, the voice boomed. Caleb covered his ears. No need to yell it. Can you tell us what is happening? I only have a fragment, the voice continued in a more regular sounding voice. I know that a desperate plan was made. Then who was speaking to us before? Hazel asked. That was a message for whoever it was found. A set of instructions for the protector. Or, I suppose, protectors. What do we call you? I have no name, though I've been called many things. I have no name that I can recall. What would you wish to call me? We looked at each other and Caleb smiled. Can we call you Al? Caleb sang the song. It was one of my father's favorite songs. I wasn't a fan, and Caleb got the lyrics wrong, but it would work. As you wish, Al said. Great. Al, can you help us with a story on how BB was hurt? There will be no need for that, Al said, and light shot out of the crystal to me. Shot from light moved from the crystal to me. Instantly, the pain was gone, and I felt something re-knitting inside me. Within a few minutes, I was able to stand on my feet without anything more than echoes of the injury. I rotated my neck and twisted at the waist. Whoa. So you can heal us? Caleb asked. As long as you are here and you have enough strength, yes, Al replied. Light moved to Caleb and Hazel, and their cuts and bruises healed. Thanks, I said, and walked over to the pedestal. What do you mean by enough strength? You must think of us as under siege. We are cut off from supplies and reinforcements, Al said. The only way to add to our strength will be through victories on the battlefield. The opposition and reshaping... I have to think about this one later, guys. I have to stop right here.